The Book of Judges is one of the historical books in the Old Testament, detailing the period of Israelite history between the conquest of Canaan under Joshua and the establishment of the monarchy under Saul and David. It serves as a bridge between the two eras and outlines the cyclical nature of Israel's relationship with God during this time. The events described span approximately 300 years and depict Israel's repeated pattern of sin, oppression, repentance and deliverance through the leadership of judges appointed by God. The book opens with a summary of Israel's incomplete conquest of Canaan. After Joshua's death, the Israelites failed to fully drive out the inhabitants of the land as God commanded. This disobedience led to the coexistence of Israelites and Canaanites, resulting in the Israelites adopting Canaanite practices, including idol worship. This set the stage for the recurring cycle that dominates the book. Each cycle begins with Israel falling into sin, primarily the worship of Baal and Asherah. As a consequence, God allows them to be oppressed by neighboring nations. In their suffering, the Israelites cry out to God for deliverance. God responds by raising a judge, a divinely appointed leader who delivers them from oppression and restores peace. However, upon the judge's death, the cycle of sin begins anew. The first judge mentioned is Othniel, who delivers Israel from the oppression of King Cushan-Rishathaim of Aram. Empowered by the Spirit of the Lord, Othniel leads Israel to victory and brings peace for 40 years. However, after his death, the Israelites again fall into idolatry. The second judge is Ehud, who delivers Israel from the Moabites. The story of Ehud is notable for its vivid details. Ehud, a left-handed man, conceals a double-edged sword and assassinates Eglon, the king of Moab. This bold act leads to a successful uprising against Moab, bringing peace for 80 years. Shamgar is briefly mentioned as the third judge. He delivers Israel by killing 600 Philistines with an ox goad, demonstrating God's ability to use unconventional means and individuals to achieve his purposes. The narrative then shifts to Deborah, the only female judge, and Barak. Deborah's story highlights her role as a prophetess and leader. She summons Barak to lead an army against Jabin, the king of Canaan, and his general Sisera. Despite Barak's hesitation, the Lord grants Israel a decisive victory. Sisera flees and seeks refuge in the tent of Jael, who kills him by driving a tent peg through his head, fulfilling Deborah's prophecy that a woman would claim the victory. Gideon's story occupies several chapters and underscores the themes of faith and God's power. Initially hesitant and doubtful, Gideon is called by God to deliver Israel from the Midianites. Through a series of signs, including the famous fleece test, Gideon's faith is strengthened. He gathers an army, but God reduces it to 300 men to demonstrate that victory comes from him. Gideon's small force defeats the Midianites through a surprise night attack, using trumpets and torches. After Gideon's victory, he refuses to become king, emphasizing that God is Israel's true ruler. However, his later actions, including the creation of an ephod that becomes an object of idolatry, lead Israel astray again. Abimelech, Gideon's son, declares himself king through treachery and violence, marking a deviation from the pattern of judges appointed by God. His reign is characterized by conflict and ends in his death when a woman drops a millstone on his head during a siege. Jephthah's story is another dramatic account. Called upon to lead Israel against the Ammonites, Jephthah makes a rash vow to sacrifice the first thing that comes out of his house, if victorious. Tragically, his daughter is the one who emerges, leading to a somber conclusion to his leadership. The final section of the book focuses on Samson, whose story is one of great potential marred by personal flaws. Samson's birth is announced by an angel, signifying his divine calling as a Nazirite. Despite his strength and victories against the Philistines, Samson's weaknesses, particularly his relationships with Philistine women, lead to his downfall. His betrayal by Delilah results in his capture and blindness. In a final act of faith, Samson destroys a Philistine temple, killing himself and his enemies. The concluding chapters of Judges depict the moral and spiritual decay of Israel. The accounts of the day-night migration and the civil war against the tribe of Benjamin illustrate the chaos and lack of central authority during this period. The book ends with the refrain, "In those days Israel had no king, everyone did as they saw fit." The book of Judges serves as a sobering reminder of the consequences of disobedience and the faithfulness of God's deliverance despite human failings. It underscores the need for godly leadership and the dangers of moral relativism. By studying this book, readers can gain insights into God's character, the importance of faith, and the recurring challenges of maintaining spiritual integrity. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories, and share your ideas for the next video in the comments.